not one, not two, but 3 power play goals for the Dallas Stars as they win in Boston over the Bruins 5-2. That's more like it.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. See what happens when you complain and moan and groan about the power play for 2 weeks. Boom. The Dallas Stars go out and score 3 power play goals, lifting themselves over the Bruins by a final score of 5-2 in Boston for their first win in Beantown since 2018. What a game and what a win for the Dallas Stars. We'll break it all down on a Friday episode of Locked On Stars. We're also going to talk about the defense that is starting to find its footing in the offensive plan, and then we'll preview the Chicago Blackhawks, who will be in town on Saturday night. A jam-packed Friday episode on Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The first win for the Stars in Boston since 2018. And I was curious, so I went back and looked at that game. Here are the goal scorers in that game for the Stars, if you want to feel old. Steven Johns, Alexander Radulov, I miss Rads, and Tyler Seguin. And if you remember, Tyler Seguin scored the overtime winner. The Stars won 3-2 on that incredible individual play by Seguin, where he weaved through like 3 Bruins and then scored to win it for the Stars in Boston. So there you go. A look back at 2018 for you. John Klingberg picked up a point. Jamie Benn picked up a couple of points in that game as well. But it was much easier tonight for the Stars. They win 5-2. And the story of the night is the power play. And this time, it's a positive. They came into the game with just 2 goals, and then they go 3 for 5 tonight. And we talked about it in the preview episode yesterday on Locked On Stars. The Bruins have struggled to stay out of the penalty box, and boy, did they not do themselves any favors in the game. They took a total of 10 penalty minutes, and the Stars made them pay, right? And they finally were able to execute. The first power play goal, right, by Jason Robertson. Where does the pass come from? I've been urging the Stars to do this more. From below the tops of the circles. Heiskanen to Ben, right to Robertson, and then he beats Swayman, and the Stars are on the board. Robertson picks up his 4th goal of the season. Ben picks up a helper along with Heiskanen, the first other defenseman besides Harley to finally pick up a point this season. Good to get him on the score sheet, and then the power play just went to work from there. Much more simple on their entries. We saw them get away from that drop pass a bit more. Instead, it was just one quick pass up the ice and into the offensive zone. Drive it wide and then set up in the offensive zone. They could spread out, and they were just much quicker and crisper with their passing tonight as well. You saw it's on the stick and off. They already knew where they were going with it, and that quickness and ability to just read the defense quickly really, really helped out the Stars, and they got rewarded for it, right? Duchene, on his entry, goes right to the front of the net, and he dishes it off to Stankoven. He gets a little tap in from 3 feet outside the crease, and the Stars just continue to roll and build 3 power play goals in the second period. Seguin, that's just vintage. I mean, just vintage stuff from him on the snipe to beat Swayman, the short side. It's a great pass from Marchment. Man, this is eerily similar to the start last season where Duchene, Marchment, and Seguin was the best line for Dallas early. And in the first 8 games now of this year, that trio has been phenomenal. They just continue to dictate and sort of set the tone offensively for Dallas. Duchene and Seguin had incredible nights, each of them with 3 points. I have to give myself credit for the shooting star pick. I'm giving it to Seguin. I thought he was great. He picks up 2 helpers and a power play goal. Duchene was right there as well. And they just are driving the Stars offense at least at 5-on-5. They ended up with 6 scoring chances in the game. It's nice that the Stars can at least rely on that line to be consistent enough. And then the top line showed a lot of life. The first 2 shifts of the game, Stanky, Hintz, and Robertson were on a mission. They created 2 scoring chances right off the bat, and Swayman looked really sharp early, and you thought, oh gosh, this isn't going to be good, especially after the Stars surrendered the first goal of the night off a very, very poor turnover by Dumba. Very, very bad. And Pasternak scored a pretty easy goal, point blank, on to Smith, who was very, very sharp down the stretch. And the Stars closed it out. They closed it out in the third period, built off that lead from the power play. DeSmith was very, very good down the stretch. Boston ended up with 10 shots on goal in the third period. DeSmith came up with some huge saves. For the most part, the Stars defensively were very strong and were very good in front of DeSmith, besides the 2 goals they gave up, and they pick up a huge win. Much more like it. Much more like it. And if you think back to that game in Boston in February of last season, even though the Stars lost, I came out of that game and I said, this type of effort and this type of play, they can win a Stanley Cup that way. And I'm not going to go that far tonight. We're 8 games into it, but a much, much better style of play all around from the Dallas Stars. Thought they got a little bit of everything in the game. And Boston is struggling at 5-on-5. And for the most part, they didn't give them a whole lot. I thought it was just a nice, solid game all the way around, and one that the Stars really, really needed coming off a loss against Buffalo. You look at the scoring chances at 5-on-5, Stars had 16. Bruins ended up with 20. They had some good chances down the stretch. But Dallas, I think, controlled most of the game. And, after the second period, they kind of did their damage. And they could sit back, and you knew Boston was going to push. So you're not going to play with the puck very much. And I thought Dallas executed the game plan in the last 10 minutes spectacularly, right? Really simple hockey. High flips, off the glass and out. Try to limit Boston's chances to, outside the tops of the circles, a lot of long shots, get bodies in front. At 6-on-5, they defended wonderfully. And then Rope Hintz was able to get free for the empty netter to cap it off. But the game had some intensity. The first 10 minutes of the game was physical. Boston throws their weight around. I'll say this about the Bruins. The way they played tonight is sort of what I was really concerned about with the moves the Stars made in the offseason could potentially be. Like, they're big and they're physical, but their puck management's pretty poor, especially on the back end. And they did a lot of puck watching on their penalty kill. Like 4 or 5 guys watching the puck carrier and just forgetting about the other players on the other side of the rink. And the Stars were able to change the point of attack a couple of times. Their D-zone coverage was pretty poor. They collapsed a lot. You could see when the Stars had some momentum in that first period, the Bruins would just collapse in front of Swayman. The Stars had a lot of room to work at the blue line with their defensemen. You saw Miro and Harley get a lot of opportunities. And I thought Dallas took advantage against a team that's off to a pretty poor start at 5-on-5, and they made him pay for the penalties they took. They ended up with 32 shots in the game. I mean, 3 for 5 is a good night on the job. And look, we've complained about it. I've had my gripes. So it was nice to see see them turn it around. And it's just much more simple, right? Just easy, making the simple play right to the goal line. Bruins are soft in coverage. The Stars got a couple looks right inside the slot, right in the heart of that box for the Bruins. They weren't covering that guy, and I think Stankoven had an opportunity. Robertson, of course, scored on it. I think Johnston had a few looks there as well, and they made him pay for it. Just making the simple play, trying to use every inch of the offensive zone, not just up high by the blue line where Miro's shooting into shin pads. They gave him options, and it looked really good. So that's what we were looking for, and a big win for the Stars, to say the least. Good to see Stanky get his first of the year, and no surprise, it's right in front of the goal mouth where he's just boxing out a Bruins defender, and he's able to bludgeon one home. So good to see him get his first of the year. Man, he's been incredible. He's been great. 8 points in the early going. I thought a lot of Stars players had good nights. Seguin and Duchene graded out as the best Stars, and this is pretty much flip-flop to what we saw against Buffalo the other night, where the first 15 guys here graded out on hockey stat cards. Out of 15, you got 12 of them that are Stars. Harley with a great night, man. He's starting to elevate a bit. He's elevating again. And I thought the goal that the Stars scored off the rush, the first one of the night that Duchene scored, beautiful snipe, and that was all led by Harley. Gets into the offensive zone, feeds it off to the right, continues his run or his path, lane integrity as they call it, continue his lane right to the front of the net, opens up that pass from Seguin to Duchene, and Duchene gets Dallas on the board. But don't forget about the play 200 feet at the other end of the ice by Niels Lundqvist, who we highlighted yesterday. Yeah, Niels, fantastic play, ties up a Bruin to give up a scoring chance, to limit a scoring chance, I should say. And then boom, Harley turns on the Jets, and the Stars were off and running. And special teams was a factor, right? The Bruins again find themselves in a ton of penalty trouble. I mean, they took 5 on the night. I think they ended up with 6, didn't they? But a rough night for Boston in terms of their PK, and the Stars get out of there with a victory, 5-2, which was nice to see. Alrighty, let's talk about the defense starting to maybe find their footing a bit. The offense in general starting to find their foot, and that's a good sign for Dallas as we look ahead for the rest of the week before the Stars are off to Finland. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. You heard me correctly. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 40 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. This week on Prize Picks, there are a lot of different options, including Tyreek Hill for more than 97.5 receiving yards and Saquon Barkley for more than 67.5 rushing yards. Those seem like almost no-brainers with the amount of work Hill and Saquon Barkley get. But Prize Picks has everything for you as well. You can do whatever sport, hockey, baseball. The World Series is right around the corner. Unfortunately, the Rangers are not in it, but Prize Picks is a great deal because you can use the code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. So go ahead, download the Prize Picks app. It's free. It's available on the App Store and Google Play. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win. Prize Picks. Run your game. Well, coming into the game, The Stars ranked last in terms of defenseman scoring. Thomas Harley had the only only points by defenseman on Dallas, which is almost baffling to even think about. Miro gets on the board here tonight, and Harley picks up a helper as well. So it's not like they dominated the score sheet here tonight, but it's much more to what we were accustomed to seeing. That goal by Duchene that's really started by Harley galloping up the ice and taking a couple of defenders with him to open up space. And Miro does the same. It draws so much attention if the Stars can build off of that, because they have had some issues getting out of their own zone, but they were really clean. I noticed in the first period against the Bruins here tonight, they were very clean out of their own zone. Just a few passes. They seem to have a much better cohesiveness about them, right? It's just like things were starting to click. And you couldn't say that for the first, 4 or 5 games of this year. And you're starting to see it click, and now they're fully healthy on the back end. Lyubushkin continues to be a nice add. Dumba has his moments. He gets lost in coverage sometimes, but for the most part, he's looked good with Miro. I just wish Miro was a tad more aggressive. He needs to be more aggressive, because you see it from Harley, and it just opens up so much. And I think it will help the offense find their game as well. Dallas was able to stretch the ice out a bit more, hitting some of those passes through center and the top line, especially. You saw Hintz and Robertson. They got loose a couple of times. I mean, Hintz had a breakaway in the game. And then early Harley hit the pipe, right? Like, them getting involved in the offense is only going to help the Stars, especially at 5-on-5, because we discussed that they have struggled at 5-on-5, at least in terms of last season. I know we compare a lot to what we saw a year ago, but that's sort of the benchmark, at least, where they need to get if they want to get to where they want to be. And they were top 5 in terms of possession numbers and shot attempts last season. And right now they're, bottom 8th of the league. And it was much more like it. Maybe because it was against a Boston team that, like I said, I think they were a tad slow, and they gave a lot of room up high so the Stars defensemen could work. They were able to change the point of attack a lot. Lyubushkin, man, he would just whip it across to Harley, and the Stars would get a shot away, right? Lundqvist and Lindell, they were able to creep in, because Boston would collapse in front of Swayman. They could creep in and start to join the offense that way. And that's more of what you want to see from Dallas. And I thought it was a really, really good night all around from the back end. Miro had himself a more characteristic game out of him. Dumba was good. I mean, Lindell, gosh, talk about just a guy that just continues to get it done at a very, very high level on the PK as well. I know Stars gave up a power play goal in the game. They got sucked down. They had 3 players below the goal line, and nobody was out in front when the Bruins picked up their power play goal in the second period to make it a 2-goal game at that point. But Miro played over 24 minutes. Dumba was over 20, along with Lindell. And then Lundqvist, he played 14-40. He would have played more in the game if special teams didn't play a big factor, right? Lundqvist isn't picking up any of those minutes on the PK or on the power play. I think he would have been around 18 if it was played more at 5-on-5. But he just plays really, really good minutes. Lyubushkin played 17-01, and sort of pretty much what we've been accustomed to seeing out of him this season. But Harley and Heiskanen, right, they need to lead that attack offensively, lead breakouts and set sort of the tone on the back end, because They need to score more from the back end. They have to. All good teams do it. Stanley Cup teams especially, like, they get a lot of production from the back end. And I know a lot of what Miro is going to do is based on the power play, and it's been off to a struggle. But hey, at 5-on-5, like, he needs to be a part of the attack. And I thought Harley was excellent. He was the best Stars defenseman in the game. He was excellent. And he's going to grow. He's going to be such a lethal weapon offensively. I mean, we saw it last year in the breakout season he has, but God, he just has a knack. He has a knack for finding space, and he shoots to score. I think I don't think Miro does need to shoot to score a bit more. Oh, I'm getting frustrated when sometimes he lines up and he looks for that deflection pass. And look, I know he's going for a good play, but man, I wish he would just rip it and try to score sometimes, because his shot is good. I think he just needs to look to find some twine a bit more often instead of deferring all the time. So, but that's when the Stars are going to be at their best, right? That's when they are going to be at their best. That's why it matters when everybody's involved. And yeah, they with Lyubushkin and Dumba, they're not built to be that way as much as maybe possibly even last year. But look, I mean, I really like their personnel. I do. And as I said in the first segment, I think what Boston is what I was really concerned about Dallas being this year. Like, just kind of big and slow. I was really concerned about that. But that's not what you see out of this team. They move well. They do really, really well in their own zone for the most part. And I thought they did good they limited the Pasternak line. I know he scored a goal in the game, but he didn't really muster up a whole lot in the contest besides the goal they got. And that was kind of gifted to them in a lot of ways. And that's sort of been the story for Boston too, right? They're relying a lot on their depth. Marchand doesn't even have a goal in the game, so they're still sorting themselves out as well. But look, you can't apologize for that if you're Dallas. You go in there and you do your business on the road, and you get out of there with 2 points. So a great win for the Stars in Boston. And to come full circle, yes, the Stars need a lot more production from their defensemen, because that's when they're going to be at their best. When Miro's on the stat sheet every other night, Harley's getting involved. It's a very tough team to beat when you add them into the mix. And they had a very, very good night. And a big reason why Stars, go 3 for 5 on the power play as well, right? I mean, Harley and Heiskanen are the quarterbacks of their units, and they get the job done tonight. Woo! Good bounce back win. It's nice to talk positively about the power play. Have not been able to do that for the first few weeks of the season. Okay, let's switch gears and segue into the Chicago Blackhawks a bit as we kick you off into the weekend. The Blackhawks in town, Connor Bedard and Chi-Town. Hopefully the Stars can pick up a win before the Finland trip next week. How about that? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats view, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even have to win, and you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. So go ahead, go over to FanDuel at FanDuel.com and get in on the action. So this Sunday, you are ready to rock and roll and make some cash while you're sitting on your couch watching some football this weekend. Go to FanDuel.com, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Tyler Seguin says after the game, championship style expectations. You got to prepare for playoffs from game one of the season. And that's really what Dallas has sort of done here over the last few seasons under Pete DeBoer. Just the attitude and the expectations to like win every night and go about your business the right way. And they've shown that on the road. I mean, they were phenomenal a year ago away from the AAC, and they're off to another very, very good start this season. Look, Seguin, he's productive, ladies and gentlemen. When he's healthy, he is so productive. He's got goals in back-to-back games now. He scored 25 5-on-5 goals last season. And what he played, I want to say 62 games, was right around where he was. But gosh, he's not playing to what his price tag is. I get it. But gosh, he's productive when he's in the lineup. And you have to give Duchene a lot of credit for that. And as I said in the first segment, like Dutchie has sort of made this thing sing a little bit, right? He's a big reason why Seguin and Marchment have been the way they have over the last couple of years now. I mean, Marchment, gosh, I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, he has two helpers in the game, right? I mean, they were all over it tonight. So big props to Seguin. And one more before we get it into Chicago. I know, but Jamie Benn looked engaged tonight, right? When he's engaged, like the Stars usually follow suit. And there are some nights where it's just like he seems just out of it, where he's just not going to be a part of the contest sometimes. But when he's engaged, like, I don't think it's a coincidence the Stars played, I think you could argue, their best game of the year tonight. Because I thought Jamie was into it from the outset. Physical. He took a penalty earlier that he was ticked off about. The Stars were able to kill it off, and he came out and he continued to go to work. Okay, that's it about last night. Let's talk about the old Chicago Blackhawks here a bit. So they're well rested coming into tomorrow. They lost 6-3 against Vancouver on Tuesday night. And look, the Blackhawks are fun, right? They're probably not going to do a ton of winning, but they are starting to put some pieces around Bedard now, and they're healthy. They added Teravainen, who's been wonderful to begin this season. He's got 3 goals and 7 points. Look, Bedard has only been held to 1 goal this season. Hopefully the Stars keep it that way, but he's their main playmaker on the power play and at 5-on-5 for the most part too. They usually pair him up with Foligno, who's that veteran presence, who's a great veteran player to put alongside him. Taylor Hall's healthy and, doing Taylor Hall things. Stars get to see Jason Dickinson, who's he's carved himself out a very, very nice NHL career. And he can score too. He had a career high last season. So, they're going to give Dallas some fits probably. And look, this is a game you have to worry about. I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park. It's the last game before the Stars head off to Finland, right? They're going to be off for 4 days before they take on the defending Cup champs next Friday and Saturday. So, let's not look ahead here and get the job done against a Blackhawks team you should beat, right? And look, last year, the Blackhawks and Sharks gave them some fits. Some of the teams that you wouldn't expect to give them fits did last season. So, they can't look ahead. This is, I guess, your quote-unquote trap game. So it'll be important for them to find a way to just get through this one. You'll have Otter in net, which is good. Can shut things down. The home game following a little trip. I know this isn't a large road trip, but just sort of a one-off before you have to get on a very, very long flight to go across the pond. You can have some duds sometimes. So Yeah, they'll be a lot better, hopefully, against a Blackhawks team that has struggled off the hop, but they can make you pay on the power play. They're rocking along 22% right now. Their PKs around league average. It really just it's determined by their net minding in a lot of ways. They have Peter Mrazek and Soderbaum as their 1-2 punch right now. So if they get a good night from their goaltender, the Stars will certainly have their fits. But Chicago will be a feisty young team, right? I kind of talked about it with the Sharks, a week ago. They're just sort of innocent right now. Like, they want to win. They're trying to change that expectation now of like, we want to win. And you can kind of see it from the way they play. So it's a great test. It really is. It's a great test for the Stars. And I think we'll learn a lot about Dallas and their mentality and their expectations. As Seguin said after a win against Boston, like, from game one, a championship play style, championship expectation. Well, this is a great time to prove it before you go off to Finland for the NHL Global Series, which I cannot wait for. And we'll talk about that plenty next week, since Stars will not be in action after tomorrow. I will be busy this weekend, so not going to be able to drop a weekend episode as much as I would love to. I'll be a bit busy myself covering some games, but should be a great weekend, and I'll have to watch the game late on Saturday night and see how the Stars do. I'm giving the shooting star, though, to Seguin, by the way, okay? I'm giving myself some props for that one. You have to comment how awesome I was for picking Seguin in Boston. Anyways, a great week here on Locked On Stars. Thank you so much for tuning in every single day. Shout out to all you everydayers out there. Drop a like, drop a subscriber, drop a notification bell, click, however you want to say. You can follow me on Twitter, JoeyTheJet19. Follow Locked On Stars on the X platform as well. Let me know in the comments section how you're feeling after the power play explosion for the Dallas Stars. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope the Stars win tomorrow night, as we always do. And I'll see you on a Monday, and we'll prepare for the NHL Global Series. Heck yeah. I also want to do sort of a month in review, since the Stars have kicked things off. Maybe most surprising player, most disappointing star in the first month of the season. So be on the lookout for that next week. I think we'll do some of those. And I'm going to want your feedback on that. Appreciate all of you wonderful listeners. So blessed to be able to do this every day. I really am. It's a lot of fun. And you guys make it worthwhile. So enjoy your weekend. Enjoy tomorrow night. And we'll see you on a Monday. So long, Stars fans.